Time after time, they tried his patience. Time after time, the Lord allowed testing times to come. But remember that in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2, he tells us exactly why he allowed these testing times to come. He said, I did it in order that I might know what was in your heart. Which, of course, is exactly what happens when testing times come. It's like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. When you squeeze it hard, it squirts out. When the testing times come, they squeeze our lives, and what's inside squirts out. And it was very obvious what was in the hearts of these Israelites. It was not gratitude. It was not love for the Lord their God. It was not covenant keeping. It was not obedience. It was grumbling. It was an attitude that was all wrong. Their hearts were lusting after evil things, Paul tells us. And that was the essence of their failure. They failed to appreciate blessings. The second thing, of course, was that there was a marked lack of obedience as far as they were concerned. Paul points out to us that when the children of Israel were traveling in the wilderness, they were prepared to engage in idolatrous activities. Now, when God gave the Ten Commandments to Moses in the wilderness, right at the very beginning, he pointed out that he was the Lord and that they were not to engage in any idolatrous activity whatsoever. Sounds very strange and utterly irrelevant to us today. But just a moment. What is idolatry? Idolatry is the substitution of God by man for something that man prefers over God. It is a decision on the part of man not to worship, not to honor, not to glorify the one true God, but to honor and glorify that which is a substitute for the one true God. And remember that the substitute is of human creation, and therefore is of human control. So human beings now worship that which they create, that which they prefer, that which they substitute, and that which they control. That is the essence of idolatry. And when you think about it for a moment, it obviously is one of the most heinous of sins. You say, well, we don't need to worry about that in our culture today, do we? Well, think about it for a minute. Are there any substitutes for God in our culture? Are they of human ingenuity? Are they of human manufacture? Are they of human control? Are they the things that people worship, and are they the things that people trust? And the answer is yes. Our culture is full of idols, and there is much idolatry in the hearts of men and women. Some people have implicit trust in money. They are pretty well convinced that if you've got enough money, which they never define, but if they've got enough money, you can pretty well do what you like. You can go where you want, you can have what you want, you can get to know who you want, you can avoid what you want, and you can get the best of everything. Money talks, money buys, money is God. You know that's true. Some people have decided that the answer to all their illness is medicine. They expect everything to be fixed, everything to be cured. They get very, very upset if the doctors don't come through. They grumble if the doctors sometimes give the impression of behaving like God, but they expect medicine to be their God. They are very, very upset. They feel cheated if for some reason modern medicine doesn't fix it. Why? Because they trust it. They believe in it. They have great confidence in it. They think that they have control over it, and it becomes a substitute for God and his eternal purposes in people's lives. Sometimes it's money, and sometimes it's medicine, and sometimes when we get into international conflict, it's the military. It's the military that's going to fix it. Just so long as we have a strong military, we can deal with all our enemies, and we will be secure. And if it isn't the military, and it isn't money, and it isn't medicine, then the market will fix it. Modern idols, the substitutes for God of human ingenuity and human control, that which we honor, that which we trust, that which we obey, that to which we bow down. The problem with the children of Israel was that they were prepared to engage in idolatry at the very time that God was outlining his laws to them. For whilst Moses was on the mountain literally receiving the Ten Commandments, the children of Israel were down in the valley dancing and cavorting and fornicating and worshipping around a golden calf. When Moses saw it, he dropped the Ten Commandments. They shattered in small pieces. He talked to Aaron and he said, "What is this? What I see?" And Aaron gives the classic explanation of what happened. He said, "They gave me their gold rings. I threw them in the fire and out came this calf." It just came out. The kind of naive explanation that men and women give God today when he asks them about their behavior. They engaged in idolatry. So they failed to appreciate blessings and they failed to acknowledge God in obedience. The second thing that we notice, of course, is clearly allied to this. Paul points out that the children of Israel in the wilderness gave way to sexual immorality. Now, it seems in the epistle to the Corinthians, you keep coming up with this business of sexual immorality. It almost sounds as if we preachers have got a thing about it. We don't. It is simply that in the days of the children of Israel and the days of the Corinthian church, there was a major problem as far as sexual behavior is concerned. And sisters and brothers, there still is. There is still a problem here. God has said unequivocally and ambiguously that a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they two will become one flesh, and sex outside of those parameters is sexual immorality. I'm tired of saying it. It is necessary. The Bible keeps on repeating it. We have heavy ears in this area. And when we begin to think in terms of living rightly or going wrong, the simple fact of the matter is this: in our culture today, it is regarded as perfectly normative to go wrong. Right has become wrong, wrong